All right, Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to our powers, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Racha HaKodash. Hey, give it up honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that have taught us this truth, that are constantly ruling well through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Hey, peace, mercy, and blessings to the beloved Akim that are out there pushing this word wholeheartedly in truth and in sincerity, that are not wavering to the left nor to the right, but constantly staying on that straight and narrow, fighting for your crowns in these last days that we are truly living in. Even shalom to the few sisters, the Agwabs that are out there, and even shalom to the Israelite foreigners, those that may look like the other nations, but their seed line is going back into our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm the brother Ira, coming back with another lesson to the Lord, willing, edifying, feed the lambs of the Lord, which I do pray this lesson is edifying, concise, and straight to the point. I was checking this video out, which the headline of this article is Freedom Research TV, Digital ID, China's dystopian model threatens freedom in Europe. All right, which when you watch into this video, it goes to show that the heathens that are in power, they're not fit to rule. All right. And see, this is why the Heavenly Father is getting ready to send back his son Yahweh Shai to liberate his people. All right, dealing with us, the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians. Okay, because see, we're going to usher in the true laws and ways of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai in the earth. Okay, and the Lord's ways are going to benefit the planet. All right, they're going to benefit the people. Even the heathens are going to benefit from being under the authority of the Israelites. Okay, and when you watch this video, you can see it for yourself that, all right, these heathens are not really rulers. All right, and this is the reason why people are mourning, destroyed, and catching hell, man. Okay, and let me grab real fast the book of Romans. Okay. All right, Romans chapter 8, verse 16. It says, no, I'm sorry, Romans 8 and 17. It says, in the NLT, it says, and since we are his children, we are his heirs. In fact, together with Amashiach, we are heirs of the Most High's glory. But if we are to share his glory, we must also share his suffering. All right. So, we're going through the suffering time right now, which is almost up. All right. As the scriptures tell us that the cup that we drunk of is now getting ready to be passed on to our enemies. Okay. Which the top nation of our enemies are the Edomites. All right. You can read Psalms, the 83rd chapter, and it gives you a list of those that conspire against us to keep us at the bottom. Okay. All right. But through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashim Shai, and prophecy is speaking. Okay. We're getting ready to be liberated. Okay. And our deliverance also entails that the world will become a more peaceful and better place. Okay. So it says, yet what we suffer now is nothing compared to the glory he will reveal to us later. For all creation is waiting eagerly for the future day when Yahweh will reveal who his children really are. Okay, so all the creation are really waiting for the sons of God to be back in power. Okay, we're manifested now. Okay, the world knows about the Israelites, and the next step is the destruction of Babylon the Great, okay, and then the elect being delivered out of here, all right, and gaining power to restore the earth, okay, because the earth needs to be restored, all right, and that's getting ready to happen real soon. So let's read this real fast. 2 Ezra 6 and verse 54, it says, and after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him comest we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. All right, so there's many people on the earth. All right, but out of the people that came out of Adam, right, there was always a chosen seed line, all right, which the Heavenly Father has placed his name in Israel, okay, all right, and this was done since the beginning, before the world was even ever created, okay, that there was going to be a chosen seed line, all right, and we're getting ready to inherit the world, starting first and foremost with our Lord Yahweh Shai, okay? Now it says, all this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. As for the other people which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. So even though that these other nations are considered as nothing, they have a purpose. They have a role to play on the earth, okay? And, you know, this role that they have to play is to be subjects, all right? Subjects to the king, all right? When you have a nation that's in authority, you're supposed to have subjects, okay? And see, the Israelites, we're not going to treat our slaves like with cruelty, you know? Even though we go into the scriptures, if they go off and we have the authority to discipline, right? We'll have the power over their lives, okay? But in all actuality, when you actually go into the laws that we have amongst ourselves, okay? Indentured service, you know, service is not chattel slavery. Okay, like how we were put through chattel slavery when the Edomites brought us over here. We're not gonna be harsh on the nations like that. Okay, we're gonna deal fairly because we're a righteous and upright people. Okay, all right, and you know, like I said, I'm gonna play the video, but when you watch the video, you're gonna see just the oppression that comes from like the system that they're trying to set up over the people, which you know, the heathen, they're not fit to rule. Okay, so it says, let me keep reading. It says, and now, O Lord, behold, these heathens which have ever been reputed as nothing have begun to be lords over us and to devour us. All right, so they're lording over us, devouring us. All right, and you know, starting with the Edomite, man, they're devouring the people. Okay, all right, they're devouring the people. Okay, to the point where, you know, the people are at a point of self-destruction. People are mourning, all right, to the highest level, all right? And with this new system that they imagine, people are going to suffer even more, all right? So the world needs the Israelites to come back into power in order for things to be ran righteously, okay? This is Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. It says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Okay, all right, so let's watch this video. All right, let's watch this video, and I got a couple things I want to bring out. Hold on, let's go back. Let's do this.
A digital ID.
Having all of your personal information stored in one place.
We will spare no effort to make Europe an AI continent.
To integrate you into this great reset.
So how soon could central bank digital currencies become a reality?
You know, we should be helping countries to develop a national digital infrastructure.
Imagine every purchase you make, every app you use, every place you visit, all contributing to a single digital profile, a personal digital identity. This way, many details of your life could be stored in a unified digital record. That profile might eventually connect with your bank, your doctor, your employer, government agencies, and even your car. This isn't science fiction. It's a vision that organizations like the World Economic Forum are advocating, and that government...
And I just want to say this, that the digital ID is a precursor to the radio frequency identification, which is the mark of the beast, okay? All right, let's keep watching.
and tech companies are gradually moving toward. The rollout of this digital ID infrastructure is truly global and coordinated. Oracle founder and billionaire Larry Ellison emphasizes the need to feed AI systems an immense amount of all available government data.
For what government should do in terms of its digital infrastructure, digital ID, data centers, and so on.
The first thing a country needs to do is to unify all of their data so it can be consumed and used by the AI model. Basically, I have to tell the AI model as much about my country as I can. If you want to improve population health, you have to take all of your healthcare data, your diagnostic data, your electronic health records, your genomic data.
The benefits are clear. Digital ID will make our interactions with each other and with the state faster, cheaper, and more reliable.
Stay with me. This isn't some distant future. Steps toward it are already underway.
Facial recognition can now spot suspects in real time from live video, tracking organized criminals at borders, in public spaces, even helping find missing people.
There are cameras.
All right, and just making a quick statement. When you watch that movie Demolition Man, I want to say with Wesley Snipes, there's a scene on there that the police are soft, all right, because of this type of draconian system that they want to put in play, all right, totalitarian, technocratic type of system, all right, where they wouldn't really even need the police, because see, those that are under this technology or implanted with it, this chip, all they have to do is just turn your chip off. All right, which, there's I want to say cyanide that is in the chip, which once it's released, it'll kill you instantly. Okay. So there wouldn't be no need for the police, and a lot of things that they say is to persuade and convince you that life is going to be more peaceful, life is going to be more better, all right, when ultimately the Heavenly Father already established that the earth and how it was made was already great. And when you look at the concept of what they're doing, the blueprint is that they're consolidating the people into a very small region. When you look at the mass of the world, there's room for everybody, okay? I believe in America alone, everybody in America can all fit in Texas alone, okay? So when they throw out ideas as global warming, food shortages, too much carbon emission, all these different talking points are talking points to deceive your mind, but this is the models that they're coming with in order to persuade the masses that this is the new elevation in life, okay? All right, and a lot of these elites, right, which you have elites in all the different nations, all right? Esau has his elites, all right, the Bacon Flames, which they're the wicked, the spearhead of the world, right? But then you have the elites of the Moabites, the Chinese. You have the elites of the Japanese, okay? You have the elites of the Ishmaelites, all right? So you have those elite classes, that are sitting in these different panels, or these different summits or whatnot, and this is what they're discussing, okay? How to control their people, all right? And how they want to control the people is through cruelty, all right? This is cruel-like measurements, all right, which will further more enslavement upon the people, okay? All right, because this technology is nothing more than to be a god over you. All right, to enslave you. All right, and take all your rights and freedoms away, and that's what's being done right now. Okay, all right. So as this thing continuously keeps rolling out, if your eyes are open, you can see that this is one of the most harshest and oppressive systems that Esau wants to use against the people. All right, and you know, this is why we're begging to the Lord to get us out of here. All right. Now, another point I wanted to make real fast before I continue on. All right, because as this thing is rolling out and they're just collecting data and they're getting you know, these different platforms and set up and things like that. Well, now they're starting to come to the realization that, you know, they don't really even need people right now. Okay, they don't need people anymore. Where you had this guy, he's the oh wow, that is crazy. Oh wow. Okay, here we go. Now Satan was jumping in the mix. All right, he's the CEO from BlackRock. All right, he says global elites must cull billions of humans to reach elevated standards of living. It says they call him a titan of finance, the CEO of the world's largest asset manager, but behind the public veneer, some believe Larry Fink is articulating a chilling doctrine. Depopulation is not an anomaly to be feared, it's a target to be achieved. Okay, see, this is as technology is increasing and they're gathering the data and information on the people and using Oracle and Palantir and, you know, all these different platforms. Okay, they're setting up a world to eliminate majority of the people and only keep very few around. Okay, so it says if you listen carefully to his words and connect the dots, you begin to see a strategic blueprint for a post-human future. A WEF special session, Fink dropped a statement that caught the attention of many observers. I can argue in the development countries, the big winners are countries that have shrinking populations. The social problem that one will have a substituting humans for machines is going to be far easier in those countries that have declining populations. He elaborated, we used to see population shrinkage as a drag on growth, but now with AI and robotics, fewer people, fewer needs, fewer dissenters, fewer demands could mean a smoother transition, a machine-driven economy. You see? Let's keep reading a little bit more. It says, Fink spoke of elevating standards of living for those fortunate enough to survive the cold. If productivity gains from automations are large enough to offset human labor decline. He also asserted that social resistance to displacing humans with machines is easier to manage when population pressures are reduced. All right, so this is where they want to head. Okay, let's check this out real fast. Let's see what this is.
I could argue in the developed countries, the big winners are countries that have shrinking populations. Okay, that's something that most people never talked about. You know, we always used to think shrinking population is a cause for negative growth. But in my conversations with the leadership of these large developed countries that have xenophobic immigration policies, they don't allow anybody to come in, shrinking unemployment, shrinking demographics, these countries will rapidly develop robotics and AI and technology. And if the promise, I didn't say it's going to happen, but if the promise of all that transforms productivity, which most of us think it will,
we'll be able to elevate the standard of living of countries and the standard of living of individuals, even with shrinking populations. And so the paradigm of negative population growth is going to be changing. And the social problems that one will have in substituting humans for machines is going to be far easier in those countries that have declining populations.
And if you look, you got Ishmael, you got Moab, and you got Edom, all right? You don't have no Jakes that are in these meetings when they're having these type of discussions, okay? All right? Just keep that in mind.
And so for those countries that have rising populations, the answer will be education, and so rapidly developing. You know, for those countries that do not have a foundation of rule of law or education, they're going to be left. That's where the divide's going to get more and more extreme, and unfortunately.
All right. So, again, let's grab this real fast in the book of Ecclesiasticus, right? Chapter 10 and verse 1. It says, "A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered," right? "As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. In what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein." All right. So when you have a righteous king, okay, the mindset of the king, the vibration of the king is passed and pushed upon the people. Okay. So a king could be either beloved or a king could be either hated. All right. He could be a cruel lord, you know. So these Edomites are showing themselves to be nothing more than cruel lords over the people, okay? Because they want to digitally enslave you, all right, with out you enjoying life while they get to enjoy life, all right? They get to enjoy quote unquote, you know, the fruits that God has given us, okay? You know, all right? And that's completely wicked. All right. Even the heathens have inheritance, right? You know, the Most High divided lands amongst all the people, okay? And you know, he's given Israel the best of the best of the lands, but then there's actual beautiful lands on the earth that the heathens actually have that the Lord has given them, okay? You know? But Esau wants to covet and take all this for himself, you know? All right. And then he's bringing in these different talking points, these models to actually get these heathens to jump on board. And then they're thinking in their mind that, all right, from, you know, Western philosophies and things of that nature, that, okay, this would be a great idea for them to rule over their people. But in the one that'll really be in control would be these Edomites, all right, to subjugate everybody, okay, all right. Remember, you know, before I go back to the video, let me just get another precept, all right, because see, all right, these Edomites love power and control, you know. Let's not forget, okay, the mindset of Esau, all right. He rules by the sword, okay, all right, and his intentions on the earth is for him to supersede, okay, right? And he's showing it, all right, by throwing his own people under the bus, all right, cutting his own people out, you know. And yeah, Esau, you know, he's cutthroat, man, all right. But let's get this real fast in the book of let me see, it's Habakkuk, right? Habakkuk chapter 2. Let's get straight to the point. Habakkuk chapter 2. No, I'm sorry. Habakkuk chapter 3, verse. See if maybe it is Habakkuk chapter 2. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. It says, this is the NLT. It says, "Wealth is treacherous, and the arrogant are never at rest. They open their mouth as wide as the grave, and like death, they are never satisfied. In their greed, they have gathered up many nations and swallowed many people. Right? And this is how Esau has conquered and overcame. All right? By putting people into debt. All right? And destroying people. Okay? And see, if this man is not stopped, he will keep going continually. Okay? All right? It's like Yahweh Shai is going to come and put this man down. All right? Because see, Esau, all right, he believes that he's going to have full control over the earth. All right, but see, the little bit of time that the Heavenly Father has loosed him out of those caves and gave him the power to actually rule, he's destroyed everything. The water's polluted, the air's polluted, the animals are dying, the trees are dying, but he's spread himself all over the place, okay? All right, and through his ideas and ways, all right, everybody's mourning and dying, and he's pushing his ways upon the heathen. The heathens are actually taking on these modules, and they're applying it to their systems, to their society, all right, which was why everybody's coming with this CBDC platform, okay? You know, everything's going digitally, all right? Everything's under surveillance, okay? Everything's being under a credit-based system, all right? And that's not how people are supposed to live on the earth, okay? You know? All right? Even as, you know, if you conquer a people, right? If you conquer a people, right? Because that's how it is with war, right? You conquer a people, all right? You subjugate them, and then they follow your rules and your laws, okay? But then there's still levels to, you know, conquering people, all right? How you deal with your slaves, okay? All right? Now, what I want to bring out real fast is from the chat GPT, what I did was I typed in Israelite slavery laws for Israelites, all right? Which these laws are going to be also used when we are in authority above the heathens, okay? So bear with me for a second. Let me just turn my car back on. Phone's getting ready to die. So it says, in ancient Israelite laws, the treatment of fellow Israelites who became slaves, or more accurately, indentured servants, was governed by specific regulations found in the Torah. These laws aim to ensure humane treatment, limit the duration of servitude, and preserve the dignity of the Israelite servants. All right. So, you know, you would have maybe somebody that fell into debt, right? And they had to pay off their debt, and then that meant that they had to put themselves pretty much as a servant to somebody else. So if I had resources, I would take that person in and give them work for them to pay their debt off, but then eventually they would start gaining interest themselves, all right? To where 6 years later, on the 7th year, they could either go free, or what is known as the what they call the Jubilee, right? They can stay a indentured servant for 50 years, okay? But by the time that, you know, everything is reset, you know, they'll be able to have land, you know, servants themselves, real resources, real money. They'll have land for them to actually, you know, build with. All right. When you look at the modules and the way that these heathens run this world and society, you know, people don't have really their own lands. People are pushed into these inner cities. They have to deal with bank accounts, you know. All right. If you're working, you have to now work, but then the wages are fixed, so you can never really get ahead. And then they force you to work up until 65 years old to so-called retire and live life. Okay. All right. So that's hell right there, you know. But in our laws, right? You're gonna have your own land and your own money, and you're gonna be able to get ahead, so to speak. All right, to really live good and live life, But underneath these Edomites, it's nothing more than just oppression. How can we just oppress the people? You see? So let me read a little bit more. It says, right? It says, Israelites were not to be permanently enslaved. Now, Leviticus 25, 39, and 43, right? Let's go there real fast, okay? Leviticus 25. Let's grab some of these precepts. Okay, 25 and 39. All right, just making a couple points. All right. Leviticus 25 and I'm going to say 39 and 39. Matter of fact, let's read up a little bit. Here it is right here. Leviticus 25 and 35. It says, if one of your fellow Israelites fall into poverty and cannot support himself, support him as you would a foreigner or a temporary resident, and allow him to live with you. It says, do not charge interest or make a profit at his expense. Instead, show your fear of God by letting him live with you as your relative. Remember, do not charge interest or money on money you lend him, or make a profit on food you sell him. I am the Lord your power, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan and to be your power. If one of your fellow Israelites falls into poverty and is forced to sell himself to you, do not treat him as a slave. So, if a man gave himself to you as a slave, right? All right. Which really is voluntary servitude. You're not supposed to treat him with cruelty. It says, treat him instead as a hired worker or as a temporarily resident who lives with you, and he will serve you only until the year of Jubilee. Now, you look at Esau's society, even though we got taken, okay, we got brought over to America, Babylon the Great, and cargo slave ships, the Judite tribes, right? The so-called Negro tribes, that was for us to meet up with the Northern Kingdom. But when you look at the concept of how Esau rules over the people, it's an unjust rulership, all right, because Esau is like in the mindset of Pharaoh. He doesn't want to let the people go, he doesn't want to let the Israelites go to go live, on their own land, to build. All right, he doesn't follow after these laws, okay, all right, and that shows you just an example within itself that Esau is not a fit ruler, all right, because when you conquer people, of course you're supposed to have slaves. They're supposed to follow your ways, your laws, all right, but Esau likens himself after the people of God, though, all right, and that's why Paul said the son of perdition has been revealed, the man of sin, okay, because Esau even deemed America as or the Bible as the rock of the land in America, all right. So if the Bible was the rock of the land, and every time that a president comes into office, what are they swearing in on? Which is all, tied into witchcraft and, demonic, whatnot. It's demonic what they do. All right. Cause it's all left hand, enchantments and things like that. But, Esau doesn't follow the scriptures. Okay. It says at that time, let's go back, right? It says Leviticus 25 and 41. At that time, he and his children will no longer be obligated to you, and they will return to their clans and go back to the land originally allotted to their ancestors. Okay, so even after a certain amount of time, you're supposed to allow them to take what they have, all right, and go prosper somewhere else, back into the land. They're supposed to get back everything that they lost, supposed to get it back. Okay, all right. So, we're going to deal righteously in the kingdom, which is the point I'm making. We're going to deal righteously, all right. So it says, the people of Israel are my servants, whom I brought up out of the land of Egypt. So they must never be sold as slaves. Show your fear of the Most High by not treating them harshly. Okay. However, you may purchase male and female slaves from among the nations around you. Okay. And you may also purchase the children of temporary residents who live among you, including those who have been born in your land. You may treat them as your property. Okay. All right. So there's different ways and laws to how you handle when it comes down to dealing with slavery. All right. So it says the time limited service, which I'm back in the chat GPT, it says 6-year maximum. Right. You read Exodus 21:2-6. When you buy a Hebrew slave, he shall serve 6 years, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. This applies to the male servant. After 6 years of service, the person had to be released without payment. If the servant choose to stay, a ritual is performed to mark voluntary permanent servitude. His ear was pierced with an awl, symbolizing loyalty, right? And that's how Esau wants the people to be, all right? So broken, so dependent upon the system that they don't see anything else as of hope, all right? That's what you would call Stockholm syndrome, which is another reason why Jake is getting ready to take that chip upon themselves, to put that inside of their body, because see, they can't see nothing outside of the American system, the American society, even, us that are out there teaching and breaking down the scriptures, so that way Jake has a hope, right? Jake shuns their inheritance. Jake shuns what is rightfully theirs, which is the world. Okay. They don't believe in themselves as being kings and priests, and they can't see a world without Esau. All right. Which is why a lot of Jakes want to save Esau, all right. But a lot of these heathens, they need to go into captivity and slavery, because what they're doing to the world, all right, and the people, all right, is nothing but just destroying it. Okay. So it says special cases with female servants. That's a good one. Fair treatment and provisions. Deuteronomy 15:12 and 15. This is when releasing a Hebrew servant, the master must provide generously from his flock, threshing floor, and winepress. This gift was intended to help the free person reintegrate into society. All right. So, there's supposed to be laws passed to help people get back on their feet, not enter into a state of homelessness, all right. You be homeless here, and now they're making laws where your ass could go to jail. All right. If you're homeless here, okay, you get caught sleeping at a park, in your car, or on the side of a road, or next to a building, your ass can go to jail. All right. And these are laws that they got on the books. Okay. But now you're supposed to help people get themselves back right. And then the scriptures go into the gleaning of the grapes. Even 10% you will lead to the poor, all right, in order for them to eat and sustain themselves. Okay. So there's a lot of abuse with this man's penmanship. All right. The laws that they create, is destroying people. Okay. Now, here's the penalty for abuse. It says if a master caused permanent injury to a servant, like knocking out a tooth or eye, the servant was to be freed immediately. Okay. So even, we deal with our servants, right? Hebrews. Okay. We're supposed to deal with them justly. All right. Let's read it down here. It says, abuse. I'm sorry. It says the summary table aspect, duration of service, max 6 years or until the Jubilee, the treatment as a hired worker, not harshly, release conditions, go free without payment, give provisions, female servants, special protection, often for marriage. Abuse, injury equals automatic freedom. Permanent servitude only if chosen voluntary. So you're not supposed to permanently put people into slavery, you know? All right, and that's why the scriptures, kind of goes into how Esau went, overboard when it came down to putting us into captivity, all right, which is why Esau has a lot to pay for. But let's go back to the video. Like, I know I was kind of long-winded, but let's go back to this video. Lord's willing, this is making sense. Let's check this out. Hopefully it replays. All right, cool.
There are cameras on top of the van that scan everyone's faces as they walk past.
Tony Blair is a technocrat. He believes basically that the people at the top need to decide everything themselves. And if you could have total control over everybody, everything would be wonderful. This is a Chinese model.
Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison predicts AI surveillance will be part of our everyday lives in the future. Ellison said AI will soon play a major role in monitoring society through a vast network of interconnected cameras.
The police will be on their best behavior because we're constantly watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
But what it will do is create the digital control infrastructure, which then lays the groundwork for all your activities and all of your behavior to be managed by the government and for you to be rewarded or disincentivized in relation to certain behavior. That is the Chinese social credit system, where if you are a good citizen, quote unquote, you can do things that other people cannot do. And if you're a bad citizen, quote unquote, you can't even buy a train ticket to go to a different city. This is where it's going.
That tells me I'm still on
right, and even though that they're taking this module from what they're doing in China, all right, a quote unquote good person is based upon Esau standards, okay? What he deems as you being a good person. All right. And we know that within his world, all right, that means for us that there will be no serving Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. All right. That means that, because like the Greeks did to us. All right. They wanted us to be abominable. They wanted us to be wicked. OK, because, see, they knew that when, our power is for us, when we practice his laws, that the Lord be with us. But if we don't do the law, statutes, commandments to the best of our abilities, that the Lord would keep us destroyed and at a lower state. I think that's somewhere in Jude. Let me see. Lights. Follow. I think it's something in Jude. All right, let me see. Follow there. Not Jude, but I'm tripping. It might be Judith. This might be it. Let me see. Salakia. This might be it. Okay, yeah, okay, this is what I'm looking for. Judith 5:20. Now, therefore, my Lord, and governor, if there be any error against this people and they sin against their power, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up and we shall overcome them. So they know that when we sin against the Heavenly Father, they know that they can keep us perpetually a slave. So a good citizen, would be more like Esau, keeping us a slave here, constantly offending our powers, you see? All right? So this is why the Lord got to get us out of here, man. Okay? All right? And for him to be and dwell with his people, because see, how Esau imagines a good person and how he wants to run his society is going to be based upon us offending our powers, We'll never get to serve Yahweh by Shema B'Shai, all right? All right, hey, yeah. This man is, diabolical, man. This man is crazy, okay? Let me go back, though. Let's a little bit more on the video, like 4 more minutes.
Still on the blacklist.
Punished because he's been branded untrustworthy by the state.
Once you're blacklisted, you can no longer get a bank loan, start a business, buy an apartment, or even send your children to a private school.
To see this in action, look at China. Some pilot dystopian cities are evolving into highly monitored environments. Cameras track most of your movements, sensors follow patterns of behavior, and algorithms influence what people can buy, where they can travel, and even whom they interact with.
If you thought the way Facebook tracks you was scary, it's got nothing on the Chinese government. Chinese government insists it has a great reason for doing this.
Here, in this Shanghai surveillance center, no resident goes unwatched.
As a good citizen, I respect the rules of the road. If I didn't, I'd lose points on my social credit.
It forces us to be well behaved.
It may seem scary, but it's just like that here. We're used to it, and anyway, we don't have a choice.
But people with low scores lose rights. The cinema names and shames people considered untrustworthy, plastering their details, even their addresses, across big screens.
All of this is presented as serving the greater good, saving the environment, reducing crime, and creating a more efficient society. What does a fully connected surveillance state really look like? These pilot cities have an all-seeing system with virtually no escape. Faces have become keys to access buildings and services. There's nowhere to hide, as everything is monitored. Smartphones, smart cars, smart buildings, all interconnected. In such a system, it's almost impossible to break the rules without being noticed. Already, millions have experienced some form of restricted access, often dictated by algorithmic assessments.
This talk of centralized digital currency, that's what they have in China. If you fuck up in China and you get a bad social credit score because you tweeted something they didn't like, now you can't buy a plane ticket. Now you can't buy a car. Yeah. Now you can't get a loan. Now you can't do something. You step the fucking line and people self-censor.
While this is unfolding thousands of miles away, similar developments are emerging in the West. Digital identity programs, surveillance grids, real-time tracking, complex databases, and carbon footprint systems. This is an ever-growing concern, as many of these initiatives are gradually moving from pilot projects into real-world implementation.
We'll make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work.
Western countries are rapidly developing their own digital ID programs. The UK has announced a national digital ID scheme.
We need to be really clear. You must have ID, mandatory digital ID, in order to work.
This technology has advanced amazingly. To make the most of this new and revolutionary technology.
The British people view this whole digital ID as an Orwellian nightmare.
Yeah, these motherfuckers are pushing digital ID on these people. And then they'll be able to control your movement and control you entirely.
This is your wake-up call. This is about building a centralized, state-controlled digital identity system that could be used, will be used, to link your finances, your medical history, your travel movements, your social media activity, even your social activity in real life, and more. It's quite frankly a digital dog tag, and once it's clipped around your neck, you will not be able to take it off.
Join the fight to defend.
All right, you will not be able to not take it off. All right, you will not be able to take it out. All right, let's get Revelation chapter 13 and 16. Okay, let's get straight to the point, right? Verse Revelation 13 and 16, and he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Okay, all right, the middle class is being cut out, and you have the rich and you have the poor. All right, but everybody's going to have to receive of this mark. All right, which this mark, as we always goes into the charagma. Okay, all right, this would be your dog tag. Okay, especially for those that are in the military, they're getting ready to get chipped up and sent over to war. All right, the word is charagma, which means a stamp, an imprinted mark. All right, a mark stamped on the forehead or right hand of the badge of the followers of the Antichrist, which there's many Antichrists, right? Anti just means against, the anointed, okay? Right? But this is a physical brand, okay? A brand. The mark branded upon horses, okay? Which symbolizes ownership, okay? All right? You being brand meaning that you are no longer yours, okay? And through this system, Esau can now become your God, or who's ruling over you can now be your God, okay? All right, they control your souls, all right? And that's what it tells you in the book of Revelation, the 18th chapter, okay? That out of all the minerals and precious things in the earth, the one thing that they covet after is your soul. They want to know how to control your soul, okay? All right, because, you know, everybody's spirit is linked to the Most High on the earth, all right? That's why the scriptures say that no man has free will. All right, every man's steps are directed by him alone. Okay, you know, even the kings of the earth, their hearts are in the hands of the Heavenly Father. All right, and he moves them just as the rivers waters move. Okay, all right, so Esau wants to module his world after the power that the Heavenly Father has, which is why the Most High has him deceived, because this is all part of prophecy. All right, but see, the Lord is only going to allow these Edomites to get, you know, the undesirables and go only so far with this plan. All right, because this will be put to a stop. All right, which is going to ultimately bring an end to Esau's world. So the next root word, when you go deeper into it, is karax, all right, which is a pale, a stake, a palisade, all right, which is the hypodermic needle, okay, that they're going to use to put inside your body to implant this thing, all right. And then going deeper is what we've been talking about, is like they've been saying, the information, the data, okay, who you are, all right, your graphos, okay, to write with reference to the form of the letter, to delineate of form letters on a tablet, parchment, paper, or other material. It says to write with reference to the content of the writing, to express in written characters, to commit to writing things not to be forgotten. See? All right, things not to be forgotten. Everything will be stored in the cloud. Okay, all your information. All right, your medical records. Okay, your identification. All right, your criminal history. Okay, everything will be not to be forgotten. It'll be attached to your chip, all right, which will be stored in the cloud. Okay, that's the type of system that you're going to be integrated into. Okay, which this system is evolving around us, all right, as we speak. Okay, you know, All right, and they're going to make this thing mandatory. All right, and let's keep reading back, right? Let's read back Revelation 13 and 16. It says, he calls all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his names. All right. So, either most people are going to get it in their hands. Okay. But then there's going to be people that's going to get the brain transplants. Okay. And things of that nature. All right. But let's go over here to the book of Psalms real fast. All right. The book of Psalms. All right. And our job, is to, tell our people, okay, to resist that chip. Don't take it, because that chip will ultimately get you destroyed. Okay. So this is Psalms 2 and 1. It says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? All right. You see, so, these heathens are conspiring. They're plotting. Okay. All right. But pretty soon the Heavenly Father is getting ready to send back the true ruler of the world. All right. Which is Yahweh Shai. Okay. Because these heathens are not fit to rule. Okay. The word rage is ragash, which means to be in a tumult, commotion, to conspire or plot. All right. This is what they, imagine. All right. And, their future plans as them setting themselves to be gods over the people. All right. The Lord, Yahweh Shai, is getting ready to show them that they are nothing more than mortal men. Okay. All right. He's getting ready to show them true power, as he arrives with the heavenly host, the angels that are coming with him. All right. Especially Michael, the archangels. All right. Yahweh Shai is coming with a military. Okay. So it says, the kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. All right. Because this is not the Most High's plans, to keep us a perpetual slave under these heathens, when the world was created for our sakes. Okay. All right. And as we rule the world, okay, and we come into power, all right, we're going to rule with a rod of iron. We're going to have the power to rule over them, but we're going to rule them by our laws. Okay. All right. And justice will be served righteously. Okay. We're going to issue out righteous justice or judgment. Okay. Not like how these heathens are ruling today over the people. So it said, then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet I have set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord have said unto me, thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. So the heathens are a possession. That's the purpose of them. The reason why they were created. Okay. All right. This is why, everybody's not going to be destroyed. All right. Somebody has to be a servant, and they have to be around in order to serve. All right. And this is why, the Lord is even going to spare the banking families, All right. When the missiles drop on America, the elect are getting beamed up. There's going to be the elites hiding themselves, okay, that think that they're going to emerge from their bunkers and, come out on top when everybody slaughters each other in this World War III, okay, and they think they're going to rule over the world. No, you're going to be the first crops of slaves, okay? It says, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, and shall dash them in pieces like a potter's vessels. Be wise now, therefore, O you kings, be instructed, ye judges of the earth. All right, that's talking to us. All right, how we conduct ourselves now. Okay, because the Lord is building us up to be judges and rulers and priests. All right, and he's showing us the righteous order before we even get that scepter. All right, so it says, serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Okay, so let me get real fast. I know I didn't finish a couple chapters. Ecclesiastes 10, I didn't finish that one. Let me get this real fast. In verse 3, it says, an unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. The power of the earth is in the hands of the Lord. In due time, he will set over it one that is profitable. All right, there you have it. Okay, the Lord's going to send Yahweh Shai, who is profitable, to be ruling over the earth. All right, and let's go back to Second Ezra, the 6th chapter. All right, because it also speaks about how we are in their hands, but then the Lord's going to take us out of their hands, and how, you know, he's going to give us power to also rule over them as well. Okay, all right. So this is 2nd Ezra 6:57. It says, and now, O Lord, behold, these heathens which have ever been reputed as nothing have begun to be lords over us and to devour us. But we are thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure? All right, and it's only for a short season. All right, and we're coming into the end of Esau's world. All right, we're coming to the end of Esau's world. Okay, as you read up in this chapter. All right, 2nd Ezra 6:9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. All right, so Esau is the end of the world. All right, and his world is coming to an end. All right, and that's why he's panicking. He's losing it right now. All right, because he knows that his time is short. All right, and as one goes down, one must come up. All right, Lamentations 4:21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and shalt make thyself naked. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. All right, so the nations that have created a tumult with Edom, they're getting ready to fall with Edom. All right, and they're getting ready to pay for what they've done to the children of Israel. All right, so a lot of judgment is getting ready to come to these heathens. Okay, and the Lord's getting ready to strip them of their power and put them, all right, underneath us real soon. Okay, because they're not fit to be rulers and kings of the earth. All right, that job is solely only for the elect of the nation of Israel. Okay, we're going to be the kings, rulers over the heathens. All right, just as it tells you in Revelation, the 5th chapter. All right, because, you know, just for edification purpose. All right, most people don't know where the kingdom of heaven is going to be. All right, it's going to be right here on the earth. Revelations 5:9, it says, and when they sung a new song, saying, thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to the Most High by the blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. All right, dealing with the Israelites, Yahweh Shai was the one worthy to open the book for us, to have back this knowledge, okay, understanding, okay, to whom we are. He's opened our minds by a pure way of remembrance, okay, and has made us unto our power, right? Yahweh Shai being the mediator, kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. So I'm going to end it right there. Lord willing, this was edifying to the Lord's elect, giving all praises, glory, and honor to our powers, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash, Brakatah Yahweh, Brakatah Yahweh Shai, Brakatah Yahweh, Brakatah Yahweh Shai, and it's on to the next. Shalom.